1772. In Bangkok's freshly settled Catholic parish of Kudichin, rancor is rising. A new church serves the Portuguese refugees who moved here on the banks of the Chao Phraya after the Burmese sacked the ancient capital, Ayutthaya. But its priest is not from Portugal, but rather France. Unhappy, a group of Portuguese leave with two sacred statues saved from Ayutthaya's ruins to start a new community downriver outside the new capital. Bangkok. Thailand's bustling capital offers visitors a rich tapestry of ornate temples, gleaming skyscrapers, irresistible shopping, mouth-watering cuisine, and bustling street life, most spreading east from the banks of the winding Chao Phraya River all the way to the city's two busy international airports. What most people don't know is that early in Bangkok's history as capital, the Portuguese community that settled Santa Cruz split, with one group building a separate church across the Chao Phraya. This new Holy Rosary Church became an anchor for Bangkok's merchant community and still stands as testament to the mettle of Bangkok's early immigrants. After the first Portuguese emissary sailed up the Chao Phraya in the early 1500s, Portugal became an important ally to Siam, introducing muskets and cannons, as well as crops, especially chilies, from the New World. Siamese kings enlisted Portuguese as mercenaries from the 1530s. In return, Portuguese were allowed to settle in Ayutthaya alongside other foreigners, Arabs, Chinese, Indians, Malays, and Persians. They married local women, and by the early 1700s, Campo Portuguese was Ayutthaya's largest European community, with 4 churches and more than 3,000 residents. When the first French Jesuits arrived in Ayutthaya in 1662, those Portuguese churches were already there. Portuguese Catholics answered to Portugal's clergy and king under a system created to spread Catholicism with Portugal's colonial expansion. As Portugal's power waned in the 17th century, Rome began appointing its own clergy, whose missions often coexisted alongside older Portuguese churches. In 1669, Rome appointed a French priest, vicar of Siam. And while Ayutthaya's Portuguese Catholics initially welcomed French Jesuits, they came to share local resentment against rising French influence. When the Burmese besieged Ayutthaya in 1766, however, Portuguese Catholics and French priests helped defend it. But Ayutthaya fell, and Campo Portuguese with it. Of its 4,000 inhabitants, 3,500 were killed. Some fled to join a counteroffensive by Chinese Siamese General Taksin. Another 300 women and children were led to sanctuary in Cambodia aboard a Chinese junk by a French missionary, Jacques Coeur. Months later, Taksin defeated the Burmese and liberated Ayutthaya, but the capital was in ruins. So Taksin set his sights downstream on Bangkok. Taksin built a new palace in the city walls near the Fort Wichai Prasit. In 1767, he established Thonburi as the new capital and was crowned king of Siam. Taksin didn't forget his loyal Portuguese fighters. In 1768, he gave them land across a canal from his new palace, next to a Hokkien Chinese settlement called Kudichin. Father Coeur and the Portuguese refugees joined them from Cambodia and built a small chapel, Santa Cruz. But even after a century of French ministry, some Santa Cruz parishioners still insisted on Portuguese priests. In 1772, they abandoned Kudichin to settle downstream, taking the two statues they'd saved from Ayutthaya, the body of the Lord Jesus and Our Lady of the Rosary. It was after this statue they named their community Rosario. After Father Coeur died, Rome appointed a French Jesuit as Bishop of Siam in early 1782. King Taksin exiled all the French priests in a dispute. But Taksin's successor, King Rama I, invited the French bishop back to oversee the kingdom's roughly 1,300 Catholics. The Portuguese at Rosario, however, still refused to accept a French priest. Surrounded by enemies and in need of allies, Rama I devised a diplomatic solution. While recognizing Rome's French bishop as head of the country's Catholics, he ceded Rosario to Portugal as thanks for Portuguese help fighting the Burmese and allowed its residents to build a church. In return, the king asked Portugal to send 3,000 muskets. In 1787, Rosario's 137 Portuguese built a wooden church on stilts to withstand floods and placed Our Lady of the Rosary at its center. The body of the Lord Jesus they stored to be brought out for the annual Good Friday procession. They named their new church Calvary, Calvario in Portuguese, Kalawar in Thai. And while they hoped a Portuguese priest would come from Goa or Macau, none ever did. In 1822, Wat Kalawar finally accepted the French priest. As Bangkok expanded, Wat Kalawar's Portuguese parishioners moved with it, and new arrivals from China began taking their place. To accommodate the growing Chinese presence, the bishop in 1838 ordered the Calvary Church demolished and a new one built of wood and bricks. It was then named the Church of Our Lady of the Rosary, or Holy Rosary Church. Locals, however, continue to call it Wat Kalawar. Wat Kalawar was part of an increasingly prosperous community servicing the many foreign ships calling on Bangkok. By the early 1800s, the area had moved from making sails, ropes, and candles to ironworking. Sailors dubbed it Vulcan's Kitchen. Unlike its quieter predecessor upstream in Kudichin, Wat Kalawar was situated in Bangkok's 19th century boom, with the customs house, rice millers, oil importers, and other export-import houses as neighbors. As its congregation swelled past 350, Wat Kalawar was in 1852 rebuilt again. In 1859, Portugal negotiated a new treaty with Siam that exempted Portuguese from local laws, including Siam's system of forced labor. With no official salary, Portugal's consul earned cash, selling Portuguese citizenship to local Chinese merchants, many of whom demonstrated their loyalty to Portugal by converting to Catholicism and joining Wat Kalawar's pews. As commerce grew, Rosario's neighborhood became known as Talap Noi, or small market, to distinguish it from the big market next door in Chinatown. In 1912, Thailand's first bank, Siam Commercial Bank, opened a stone's throw from Wat Kalawar. Bangkok is famous for its street food, and the area around Wat Kalawar is no exception. Across the street from the church, you'll find a row of stalls serving local favorites. try Mayupin fast food kitchen for an affordable lunch. For a Michelin-star treat, amble north into Talat Noi's back streets to trendy Charmgang. If all you need is a coffee, climb upstairs at the corner house and chill out at Such a Small World Cafe. Those looking to stay near Wat Kalawar need look no further than the Royal Orchid, Sheraton Riverside, with 726 rooms and suites, some with views of the Chao Phraya. For a more budget-conscious alternative, venture to Talat Noi's 40-room Riverview residence. Construction of the church you see at Wat Kalawar today began in 1891. Designed in a Neo-Gothic style with a tall spire tower topped with an iron cross and stained glass windows depicting biblical scenes. It was completed in 1897. Wat Kalawar entered the 20th century with as many as 800 parishioners. As Talat Noi grew, so did Chinese conversions. Eventually, Chinese outnumbered Wat Kalawar's original Portuguese members. Portugal's influence remains stamped on the area. The Portuguese embassy still sits nearby. But Wat Kalawar eventually became part of Bangkok's Chinese roots and an enduring reminder of the city's multicultural heritage.